After 12 years of 99.8% uptime, my boss said I'm too old, need someone more digitally intuitive. I said thank you for the opportunity and walked out at 3 p.m. By 3:15 p.m., their payroll system crashed and I had 47 missed calls. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Frank Mercer. I'm 58 years old, and until 3 o'clock this afternoon, I was the senior systems engineer at Hartwell Industrial Solutions. That's a fancy way of saying I kept everything running. The servers, the payroll system, the logistics network, the backup protocols, all of it. For 12 years, I maintained an uptime record that made other companies weep with envy. 99.8%. That remaining 0.2% was planned maintenance. I built that record with my own 2 hands, one late night at a time, one emergency fix after another, one system patch laid on top of another like bricks in a wall. I knew every server, every cable, every backup routine. I knew which systems would fail first under stress. I knew where the hidden dependencies were, the ones that didn't show up in any documentation because I'd built them myself, fixing problems that the original architects never anticipated. And today they told me I wasn't digitally intuitive enough. The meeting happened in Conference Room B, the small one with the fake plant in the corner and the whiteboard that still had marker stains from 2019. 3 people sat across from me. Derek Walsh, the new VP of Operations, maybe 32 years old, with perfect teeth and a watch that cost more than my truck. Next to him was Jennifer something, HR, with her laptop open and her face arranged in an expression of professional sympathy. And at the end was Tom Bradshaw, the CEO, who at least had the decency to look uncomfortable. "Frank," Derek said, leaning forward with his hands clasped on the table like he was about to deliver a TED Talk. "We want to start by saying how much we value everything you've done for this company." I knew right then. The word value in corporate speak means they're about to take something away from you. "The industry is changing," Derek continued. "We need people who are native to the digital landscape, cloud-first thinkers, people who understand AI integration, microservices architecture, containerization." I understood all those things. I'd been implementing them while Derek was still in college learning how to optimize his LinkedIn profile. But I didn't say that. I just watched him, waiting. "We're restructuring the IT department," Jennifer said, her voice soft and practiced. "Moving toward a younger, more dynamic team structure." Younger, there it was. "We're offering a severance package," Tom said, finally speaking. He slid a folder across the table. 6 months' salary, full benefits through the end of the year, a positive reference. I opened the folder. The numbers were correct. The language was clear. They'd made sure everything was legal, just barely on the right side of age discrimination laws. They probably had their lawyers look at it 3 times. "This is effective immediately?" I asked. "We think it's best," Derek said. "Clean break. We'll have the new team lead start next week." I looked at the 3 of them. Derek, with his expensive watch and his MBA confidence. Jennifer with her sympathetic face and her HR manual memorized. Tom, who'd shaken my hand at the Christmas party every year and told me I was the backbone of this company. "Okay," I said. They blinked. They'd expected more. Anger, maybe. Pleading. Questions about reconsidering. "Okay," Derek repeated. "Thank you for the opportunity," I said, standing up. I took the folder. "I'll clean out my desk." "We appreciate your professionalism," Jennifer said, looking relieved. I walked out of Conference Room B at 2:47 p.m. My desk was nearby, the same desk I'd sat at for 12 years, covered in coffee rings and sticky notes. I had a photo of my wife Ellen and one of those stress balls shaped like a brain. I'd bought it as a joke. I picked up both items, left everything else, and walked toward the exit. People watched me go. They knew. Office gossip travels faster than their network switches. Sarah from accounting gave me a sad little wave. Mike from logistics looked away. They were all wondering if they'd be next. I pushed through the glass doors at 2:54 p.m. The parking lot was half empty, baking in the afternoon sun. My truck was parked in the back corner, same spot I'd used for 12 years. I climbed in, set the folder on the passenger seat, and sat there for a moment, hands on the steering wheel. I wasn't angry. That's what they'd never understand. I was just done. I drove out of the parking lot at 2:58 p.m. I didn't look back. My phone started ringing at 3:11 p.m. I was 3 miles away, stopped at a red light, when the first call came through. Derek Walsh. I let it go to voicemail. The light turned green. I drove. Another call. Tom Bradshaw. Voicemail. Another. Jennifer from HR. Voicemail. By the time I pulled into my driveway at 3:23 p.m., I had 47 missed calls and 16 voicemails. The phone was buzzing so continuously it felt alive in my hand, like a trapped insect. I turned off the ignition and sat there, looking at the screen. 47 calls in 12 minutes. I smiled. Ellen opened the front door before I could reach it. She's 56, with gray hair she refuses to dye and eyes that miss nothing. She'd been a paralegal for 20 years before retiring, and she had a mind like a steel trap. She looked at me, then at my phone, which was still buzzing. "What did they do?" she asked. "Fired me," I said. "Said I'm not digitally intuitive enough." Her face went hard. "Those idiots." "Probably," I said, holding up the phone. "Their payroll system just crashed. Also logistics. Also, I'm guessing about 6 other systems that all have hidden dependencies on the maintenance protocols I ran every Tuesday at 2 a.m. Ellen's expression shifted from anger to something else. Understanding. She'd been married to me for 34 years. She knew exactly what I'd built at Hartwell, and she knew exactly what happened when you removed me from the equation. "You didn't tell them?" she asked. "Tell them what?" "That everything would fall apart without you." I shrugged. They didn't ask. My phone buzzed again. Derek Walsh, 5th call. I declined it. "Are you going to help them?" Ellen asked. I looked at her, really looked at her. She was asking if I was going to be the bigger person, the professional, the reliable Frank Mercer who always fixed everything. "No," I said. She smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. It was the smile she got when someone in a deposition had just lied to her face and she had the document that proved it. "Good," she said. "Come inside." I made coffee. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table we'd eaten dinner at for 23 years since we'd bought this house. The phone eventually stopped buzzing. It had run out of battery, or they'd given up, or both. "What are you going to do?" Ellen asked. "Nothing," I said. "For now." She raised an eyebrow. She knew me too well for that answer. "They'll fix it eventually," I said. "Or they'll hire someone who can. It might take them a week. Maybe 2. They'll lose some money. Clients will be annoyed, but they'll survive." "That's not what I meant," Ellen said. I drank my coffee. It was good. She'd always made better coffee than I did. "I know what you meant," I said. We sat in silence for a while. The afternoon sun came through the kitchen window, making patterns on the linoleum. Somewhere in the neighborhood, someone was mowing their lawn. Normal sounds, a normal day. Except it wasn't. "The kids called yesterday," Ellen said quietly. I looked up. "Which ones?" "Both. Trevor wants to have dinner next week. Says he has something to discuss with us." Trevor. My son. 34 years old, married to a woman named Amanda who'd never liked us much. He worked in business development, which as far as I could tell meant he had meetings about having meetings. But he made good money, drove a new car every 2 years, and lived in a house twice the size of ours. "What does he want to discuss?" I asked. Ellen's face told me everything. He didn't say, but Amanda was on the call too, in the background, coaching him. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "And Lisa?" Called this morning, asked about your retirement accounts. Lisa, our daughter, 31, married to a finance guy named Paul. They lived in California and visited twice a year, always with an excuse for why they couldn't stay longer. Why is Lisa asking about retirement accounts? I asked, though I already knew the answer. She said she was just curious about our planning, Ellen said. Asked if we had a will, if we'd thought about power of attorney arrangements. The cold thing in my stomach spread. They know I got fired, I said. How would they know? Trevor works with suppliers who contract with Hartwell. He has friends there, someone told him. Ellen nodded slowly. And they think you're vulnerable now. They think I'm weak. We looked at each other across the table. In 34 years of marriage, we'd built something together. Not just this house, not just our family. We'd built trust, partnership. We knew how the other person thought. What do you want to do? She asked. I want to have dinner with Trevor, I said. See what he has to say. Ellen smiled that not nice smile again. I'll make pot roast, his favorite. Perfect. Just a piece of plastic and glass. But I knew that when I charged it, I'd have messages from people who'd suddenly realized that maybe I'd been important after all. That maybe their systems weren't as automated as they thought. That maybe institutional knowledge mattered. But that could wait. I had more important things to think about now. My son wanted to have a conversation, and I had a feeling I knew exactly what he wanted to discuss. While you're here, hit the hype button, don't forget to subscribe and support this channel with a like. And tell us below, have you ever faced something like this? The dinner was set for Thursday, 3 days away. In those 3 days, I did something I hadn't done in 12 years. Nothing. I didn't answer calls from Hartwell. I didn't respond to emails. I didn't fix anything. I sat in my workshop in the garage, organizing tools that didn't need organizing, and I waited. Ellen watched me with that knowing look she had. She knew I was planning something, but she didn't push. She never did. That was one of the things I loved about her. She trusted me to handle things my way. On Tuesday morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Mr. Mercer? This is Diane Foster from Westbrook Systems. Westbrook Systems, one of Hartwell's biggest competitors. I'm listening, I said. We heard about your recent departure from Hartwell. We'd love to discuss opportunities. Your reputation is well known in the industry. Is it? Of course. 12 years of 99.8% uptime is legendary. We have several positions that might interest you. Senior architect level, competitive salary, full benefits, stock options. I leaned back in my workshop chair. What's the salary range? She named a number that was 40% higher than what Hartwell had been paying me. And you need someone who understands legacy systems integration? I asked. Exactly. We're bidding on several contracts that require expertise in complex infrastructure management. Your background would be invaluable. I'll think about it, I said. Please do. We'd love to move quickly on this. The position is newly created, and we're eager to find the right person. After she hung up, I sat there for a moment. Then I called Ellen inside. Westbrook just offered me a job, I said. Her eyes sharpened. Doing what? Exactly what I was doing before, for 40% more money. Are you going to take it? Maybe. But that's not the interesting part. What's the interesting part? They said the position is newly created, which means they're creating it specifically because I'm available, which means they're probably bidding on contracts that compete directly with Hartwell. Ellen smiled. And Hartwell's systems are currently falling apart. Allegedly. Allegedly, she agreed. We looked at each other. Don't take the job yet, Ellen said. Wait until after dinner with Trevor. That's what I was thinking. Wednesday morning, Trevor called. Hey, Dad, he said, his voice carrying that false cheerfulness that meant he wanted something. Just confirming for tomorrow. 6 o'clock, okay? 6 is fine. Great. Amanda's really looking forward to it. That was a lie. Amanda had never been looking forward to anything involving us, but I let it slide. Your mother's making pot roast, I said. Perfect. Hey, Dad, I wanted to mention I'm bringing some papers for you to look at. Just some planning stuff, nothing urgent. Papers. Planning stuff. What kind of planning? I asked. Oh, just family financial planning. You know, making sure everything's organized for the future. Paul helped me put together some recommendations. Paul, Lisa's husband, the finance guy. Paul's involved? I asked. Well, he's got expertise in this area. We figured, with your retirement coming up. I'm 58, Trevor. Retirement isn't exactly imminent. Right. But it's never too early to plan, Anyway, we can talk about it tomorrow. He hung up before I could respond. I went inside. Ellen was at the kitchen table with her laptop open. She looked up when I came in. Trevor called, I said. He's bringing papers tomorrow, financial planning recommendations. Paul helped him prepare them. Ellen's face went cold. Both kids are involved. Looks like it. She turned her laptop around. On the screen was a legal document. I recognized the format. She'd been a paralegal long enough that she could still navigate court records and legal databases. I did some searching, she said. Last month, Trevor filed for power of attorney authorization forms. Just the preliminary paperwork, nothing executed yet. But he's been preparing. I sat down heavily. Power of attorney. It gets worse. He listed you as having diminished capacity. Diminished capacity? I'm 58, and I just maintained 99.8% uptime for 12 years. He listed age-related cognitive decline as the justification. The cold thing in my stomach was back, spreading through my chest now. My own son, my own daughter. They'd been planning this. How long have they been planning this? I asked. Ellen clicked through more documents. Based on the filing dates, at least 3 months, maybe longer. 3 months. While I'd been working late nights, keeping Hartwell's systems running, my kids had been preparing to declare me incompetent and seize control of everything Ellen and I had built. What do we have? I asked. Assets. Ellen pulled up a spreadsheet. She'd always been better with finances than I was. The house paid off, worth about $450,000. Your 401k, about $600,000. My pension, that's mine, and they can't touch it. Your severance package, 6 months' salary, about $60,000. Savings, another $100,000. Investment accounts, $200,000. I did the math. About $1.4 million, not counting Ellen's pension. And if they get power of attorney? I asked. They control all of it. They can sell the house, liquidate the retirement accounts, make medical decisions, put you in a care facility if they decide you need it. On what grounds? Age-related cognitive decline, apparently. And now you've been fired from your job. They'll argue that's evidence of declining performance. I laughed. It came out harsh. I was fired for being too old, not for incompetence. They don't care about the distinction. They just need a judge to sign off on it. And if they have Paul's financial expertise backing them up, if they present it as protecting you from yourself. She didn't finish. She didn't need to. When's the hearing? I asked. There isn't one yet. Like I said, these are just preliminary filings, but once they have you sign those papers tomorrow, once they have your agreement to financial planning, they spring the trap. Exactly. We sat there in silence. Outside, someone was pressure washing their driveway. Normal suburban sounds. Normal life. While my children were planning to declare me incompetent and take everything. I need to know more, I said. I need to know exactly what they're planning. How? I thought about it. Trevor works with Hartwell suppliers. He has friends there. He knew I got fired almost immediately. So? So he has access to information. He knows things about Hartwell's current situation. Why does that matter? I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Because I'm about to become very interesting to Hartwell's competitors, and Trevor is going to hear about it. And he's going to realize that maybe his old, not digitally intuitive father isn't quite as diminished as he thought. Ellen looked at me for a long moment. What are you planning? Right now? Nothing. I'm just going to have dinner with my son and see what papers he wants me to sign. And after that, we'll see. Thursday arrived. Ellen made pot roast. The house filled with the smell of meat and vegetables and herbs. Trevor loved pot roast. She'd made it for him since he was a kid. Every birthday, every special occasion. Comfort food. She was making it now as a weapon. Trevor and Amanda arrived at exactly 6 o'clock. Trevor drove a new Audi, black and sleek. He wore a suit even though this was a casual dinner. Amanda wore a designer dress and heels that clicked on our driveway. They both had practiced smiles. Mom, Dad, Trevor said, hugging Ellen, shaking my hand. Thanks for having us. Of course, Ellen said. It's been too long. It had been 2 months, which for adult children who lived 20 minutes away was too long. Amanda hugged us both, the kind of brief, awkward hug that involved no actual physical contact beyond shoulder touching. We sat down to dinner. Ellen had set the table with the good dishes, wine glasses, cloth napkins. She was playing the role of perfect hostess. This looks amazing, Ellen, Amanda said. You didn't have to go to so much trouble. No trouble, Ellen said. It's not often we get to see you both. Trevor shifted in his seat. Yeah, work's been crazy. You know how it is. I do, I said. Until recently. Awkward silence. Right, Trevor said. I heard about Hartwell. I'm really sorry, Dad. That's rough. Is it? He blinked. Well, yeah, I mean being let go after all those years. They said I wasn't digitally intuitive enough, I said, cutting into my pot roast. Apparently the industry is changing. It is, Trevor said quickly. Everything's moving to the cloud, AI integration. It's a young person's game now. Is that what you think? I mean, that's what everyone's saying. The tech industry is all about innovation, disruption. Companies need people who can adapt quickly. I chewed my pot roast. It was excellent. Ellen had outdone herself. I got a job offer, I said. Trevor froze. What? Tuesday, Westbrook Systems. They want to hire me. Senior architect position. 40% more than Hartwell was paying. Amanda's fork clattered against her plate. Trevor stared at me. Westbrook? Trevor said. But they're Hartwell's biggest competitor. I know. You can't work for them. Why not? Because of non-compete agreements, confidentiality, it's not ethical. My non-compete expired after the first 5 years. Hartwell never renewed it. As for confidentiality, I won't be sharing trade secrets. I'll just be doing the same job I've always done. Building reliable systems. Maintaining uptime. Trevor looked at Amanda. She looked back at him. Some unspoken communication passed between them. Dad, Trevor said carefully, that's actually something we wanted to talk to you about. Your future. Planning ahead. I thought we were talking about it. No, I mean financially, making sure you're protected. He reached down and pulled out a briefcase I hadn't noticed before. Designer leather. Expensive. He opened it and extracted a folder, very similar to the one Hartwell had given me. Paul put together some recommendations, Trevor said, sliding the folder across the table. He's been looking at your financial situation. How does Paul know my financial situation? I asked. Well, we've talked about it as a family, and Paul has access to databases, industry standards. He can make reasonable estimates. Estimates, I repeated. Look, the point is, you're at a vulnerable time right now, transition period. It would be smart to make sure everything's protected. Organized. I opened the folder. The first document was a financial planning agreement. The second was a power of attorney form. The third was a trust arrangement document. I read them slowly while everyone watched. The financial planning agreement gave Trevor authorization to manage my accounts. The power of attorney gave him legal authority to make decisions on my behalf, including medical decisions. The trust arrangement moved all our assets into a trust controlled by Trevor and Lisa, with Ellen and me as beneficiaries. These documents give you control of everything, I said. It's just protection, Dad, making sure everything's properly managed. Managed by you, by family, people who care about you. I looked at my son, his expensive suit, his rehearsed expressions, his practiced tone. I looked at Amanda, who was watching me with barely concealed eagerness. And if I sign these, I said slowly, you control the house, the retirement accounts, the investments, everything. It's not about control, it's about protection. From what? From making poor decisions, from being taken advantage of. Dad, you just got fired. You're angry. You're not thinking clearly. Taking a job with Westbrook out of spite? That's not rational. There it was, the trap. He'd just called me irrational, establishing a pattern of poor judgment, setting up the narrative for the cognitive decline claim. Ellen's hand found mine under the table. She squeezed once. I need to think about this, I said. Of course, Trevor said quickly. Take your time, but Dad, you should know. Paul's recommending we move quickly, for tax purposes, end of fiscal year planning. How convenient. It's just good timing. I closed the folder. Let me discuss this with your mother. Sure, but maybe by next week? Paul's got some time-sensitive strategies. I'll let you know. The rest of dinner was awkward. Trevor tried to make small talk about his work. Amanda complimented the pot roast without eating much of it. Ellen smiled her hostess smile and said nothing important. They left at 8 o'clock. Trevor hugged his mother, shook my hand again, and said he'd call in a few days to follow up. As soon as their Audi pulled out of the driveway, Ellen turned to me. You're not signing those papers, she said. No. What are you going to do? I picked up the folder from the dining room table. First, I'm going to have our lawyer look at these. Then I'm going to find out exactly what Trevor and Lisa have been planning. And then? I looked at her. Then I'm going to show them exactly how digitally intuitive their old, obsolete father really is. Tuesday morning, I was at Westbrook by 7. The office was quiet, only a few early arrivals at their desks. I made coffee in the break room and started reviewing the second contract proposal. Patricia Moore found me an hour later. You're here early, she said. Habit. Good habit. I reviewed your notes on the first proposal. James wants you in the presentation tomorrow. Client meeting at 10. I'll be there. Frank, can I ask you something? Off the record? I looked up from my screen. Patricia was mid-40s, smart, direct. She hadn't gotten to head of business development by being naive. Sure. What's really happening with Hartwell? Their systems didn't just fail randomly, and you showed up here with very specific knowledge of their vulnerabilities. I'm not complaining. It's making our proposals incredibly strong, but I need to know if there's going to be blowback. Hartwell fired me. They eliminated the person who maintained their systems. What happened after that was predictable. Did you sabotage anything? No. I just stopped maintaining things. There's a difference. Is there? Legally? Yes. I documented every system weakness, every technical debt issue, every place where they needed redundancy. I filed reports, sent emails, made presentations. They ignored all of it. That's not sabotage. That's them making bad decisions. Patricia nodded slowly. Can you prove that? The documentation? I have 12 years of emails, reports, meeting notes, all of it. Good, because if Hartwell decides to sue, we need to be ready. She left. I went back to the proposal. My phone buzzed. Text from Richard Nolan. Trevor filed the incompetency petition this morning. Court date set for next Monday. I stared at the message. He'd actually done it. Despite the recording, despite knowing he'd lose, Trevor had filed the petition. I called Richard. "He's desperate," Richard said when he answered. "Desperate enough to try anyway. Maybe he thinks he can convince a judge that your recording was coerced or taken out of context or something." "What do we do?" "We go to court Monday. I'll file the recording as evidence. We'll also submit proof of your employment at Westbrook, your performance evaluations, anything that demonstrates competence. Frank, he can't win this, but he can make it ugly." "How ugly?" "He'll argue that taking a job with Hartwell's competitor shows poor judgment, that it's revenge-driven, not rational. He'll bring up your age, your firing, try to paint a picture of declining capacity. I was fired for being too old, not for being incompetent." "I know, but in court those lines get blurry. We'll prove competence. Just make sure you don't do anything this week that could be construed as erratic." After I hung up, I sat there thinking. Trevor had filed the petition knowing he'd probably lose, which meant he had another plan, something he thought would work even if the incompetency declaration failed. I needed to know what that plan was. At lunch, I drove to the industrial park where Hartwell was located. I didn't go into their building. I just parked across the street and watched. The parking lot was fuller than usual. Extra cars, probably contractors brought in to fix the systems I'd maintained. I recognized some of the vehicles, competitors I'd known for years, now being paid emergency rates to clean up the mess. My phone rang, unknown number. Frank Mercer. "Frank, it's Tom Bradshaw," the CEO, calling me directly. "Tom, I need to talk to you. Can we meet? Off-site, not here. There's a coffee shop on Maple Street." "I know it. When?" "Now?" I checked my watch. 12:30. "Okay." The coffee shop was small, local, tucked between a dry cleaner and a tax office. Tom was already there, sitting in the back corner, looking older than I remembered. Tired. I got coffee and joined him. "Thanks for coming," he said. "What do you need, Tom?" "I need to apologize. Derek was wrong. I was wrong. Firing you was the biggest mistake we've made." "I know." "We're in trouble, Frank. Real trouble. 3 of our biggest contracts are up for renewal this quarter. Westbrook is bidding on all of them, and our systems keep failing. We've brought in contractors, spent 6 figures on emergency fixes, but nothing works like it did when you were here. Because I built those systems. I knew every dependency, every weak point, every patch. You can't just hand that to someone else." "I understand that now. Frank, what would it take for you to come back? Name your price." I sipped my coffee. It was bad coffee, too bitter, but I drank it anyway. "There's no price, Tom. You fired me because Derek wanted younger talent, because you thought I was obsolete. You can't just apologize that away." "Derek's gone. I fired him yesterday." That got my attention. "You fired Derek?" "He convinced me to cut you loose. His restructuring plan was supposed to save money and increase efficiency. Instead, it's cost us $800,000 in emergency repairs, and we're about to lose $40 million in contracts. So yes, I fired him." "Good. Frank, please come back, even temporarily. Help us stabilize things. 6 months, a year, whatever you need. We'll pay you double what you were making. Triple. Whatever it takes." I looked at Tom. He was genuinely desperate. Hartwell was genuinely failing. And part of me, the part that had spent 12 years building those systems, maintaining that 99.8% uptime, wanted to help. But another part of me remembered Derek's face when he said I wasn't digitally intuitive. Remembered Tom sitting silent during that meeting, not defending me. Remembered walking out alone while everyone watched. "No," I said. "Frank, Tom, you made a decision. Live with it. I have. You're working for Westbrook now. You're helping them destroy us. I'm doing my job, just like I did at Hartwell for 12 years. It's not my fault Westbrook values that more than you did. This is revenge. This is business. You taught me that when you fired me." I stood up. "Frank, wait. There's something you should know. Trevor called me last week, asked about your performance history, Wanted documentation of any mistakes you'd made, any system failures. I sat back down. What did you tell him? Nothing. I told him it was confidential, but he was fishing for ammunition, for some kind of legal case. He's trying to declare me incompetent, take power of attorney. Tom's face went pale. Your own son? My own son. He needs money. Figured I was vulnerable after being fired. Easy target. Jesus, Frank. So when you say I'm taking revenge, Tom, understand something. Hartwell fired me. My own children are trying to rob me. Everyone decided I was obsolete. I'm just proving them wrong. I left before Tom could respond. Back at Westbrook, I threw myself into work, reviewed all 3 contract proposals, made technical recommendations, built system architecture diagrams. By 6 o'clock, I had comprehensive plans for all 3 clients that were objectively better than what Hartwell could deliver. Patricia found me at my desk. You need to go home, she said. You've been here 11 hours. Almost done. Frank, we appreciate the dedication, but pace yourself. This is a marathon, not a sprint. I know. Just want to make sure tomorrow's presentation is solid. She looked at the diagrams on my screen. This is more than solid. This is exceptional. Hartwell can't compete with this. That's the idea. I drove home at 7. Ellen had dinner waiting, pasta, salad, bread, comfort food. You look tired, she said. Long day. Trevor filed the incompetency petition. I know. Are you worried? I thought about it. No, he can't win. I have the recording, I have my new job, I have evidence of competence everywhere, but he's going to make it ugly. Let him. We'll prove him wrong in court. We ate in silence for a while. Then Ellen said, I got a call today. From Amanda. I looked up. What did she want? To apologize. Said she didn't know Trevor was going this far. Said she thought it was just financial planning, nothing aggressive. You believe her? No. She knew exactly what they were planning. But she's covering herself now that it's falling apart. What did you tell her? I told her that if Trevor proceeds with the petition, we'll make sure everyone knows what they tried to do. Their friends, their neighbors, their business contacts. They'll be the couple who tried to rob Trevor's parents. That's their legacy. I smiled. You're vicious when you need to be. I learned from the best. Wednesday morning, I wore my best suit to the client presentation. James Westbrook, Patricia Moore, Kevin Tran, and I met the client at their office, a manufacturing company that had been with Hartwell for 8 years. The presentation went perfectly. I walked them through our technical approach, explained how our system would integrate with their existing infrastructure, showed them redundancy plans and disaster recovery procedures. Everything Hartwell should have been doing, but wasn't. The client's CTO, a woman named Margaret, asked tough questions. I answered all of them. She looked impressed. This is significantly more comprehensive than Hartwell's proposal, she said. That's because we understand your systems need to be reliable, not just functional, I said. Hartwell's approach works until something breaks. Our approach works especially when something breaks. After we left, James shook my hand in the parking lot. That was textbook, he said. We're going to win this contract. How can you be sure? Because Margaret looked at you like you were the only competent person she'd talked to in years. That's not a look you fake. The next 2 presentations, Thursday and Friday, went similarly. By Friday evening, Patricia told me Westbrook had won all 3 contracts. $40 million, she said. We just took $40 million in annual revenue from Hartwell in 1 week. They'll recover, I said. Will they? Frank, you just demonstrated that their entire competitive advantage was you. Without you, they're just another vendor with failing systems. I thought about that on the drive home. Hartwell was in serious trouble I'd helped create, not through sabotage, not through theft of proprietary information, just by being good at my job somewhere else. It felt strange, like I'd spent 12 years building something, and now I was watching it crumble from the outside. Ellen was on the phone when I got home. She looked up, covered the mouthpiece. "Richard," she mouthed. I took the phone. "Frank, we have a problem," Richard said. "Trevor just filed additional evidence for Monday's hearing. Medical affidavits from 2 doctors claiming you show signs of age-related cognitive decline." "What doctors? I haven't seen any doctors." "That's the problem. These are doctors Trevor hired. They're basing their opinions on questionnaires Amanda filled out about your behavior. It's thin evidence, but it complicates things." "Questionnaires about my behavior? Like what?" "Memory issues, confusion, difficulty with technology, all things that can be argued as signs of declining capacity." "I don't have memory issues. I'm not confused. I work in technology." "I know, but this is Trevor throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. We'll refute it with your employment records, your performance at Westbrook, character witnesses. But Frank, this is going to be harder than I thought." After I hung up, I told Ellen what Richard had said. "Medical affidavits," she said, "based on Amanda's lies." "Apparently. We need our own medical evidence. Can you get a cognitive evaluation done before Monday?" "It's Friday evening. Where am I going to find a doctor?" Ellen grabbed her laptop. "I'll find one. We'll pay for emergency weekend evaluation if we have to. You're going to walk into that courtroom with independent medical proof that you're completely competent." She was right. We needed overwhelming evidence. Not just to win the hearing, but to destroy Trevor's credibility so completely that he could never try this again. Saturday morning, I sat in a neurologist's office taking cognitive tests. Memory, reasoning, problem-solving, attention span. The doctor was skeptical about the rush, but Ellen had explained the situation and he'd agreed to help. By Saturday afternoon, I had results. Normal cognitive function for age, no signs of decline or impairment, above average performance on technical reasoning tasks. Sunday, I prepared for court. Richard came to our house, and we reviewed everything: the recording of Trevor's admission, my employment records, the medical evaluation, character witnesses, financial documents showing our competent management of assets. "We have a strong case," Richard said. "Probably the strongest I've seen in an incompetency challenge. But be prepared for Trevor to say ugly things. He'll attack your judgment, your motivations, maybe even your character." "I'm ready." "Are you? Because this is your son, in court, trying to have you declared incompetent. That's going to hurt no matter how well we prepare." I looked at Ellen. She nodded. "I'm ready," I said again. Monday morning, we arrived at the courthouse at 8:30. The hearing was at 9. Trevor and Amanda were already there, with a lawyer I didn't recognize. Paul and Lisa weren't visible, probably avoiding direct involvement. Trevor looked at me across the courthouse hallway. I looked back. We didn't speak. At 9 o'clock, we entered the courtroom. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Wood paneling, fluorescent lights, uncomfortable benches. Judge Patricia Hendricks presided, mid-60s, with reading glasses on a chain and an expression that said she'd seen every kind of family drama imaginable. Trevor's lawyer spoke first. His name was Martin Cross, and he wore an expensive suit that probably cost more than my truck. "Your Honor, we're here because the petitioner, Trevor Mercer, is deeply concerned about his father's well-being. Frank Mercer is 58 years old and showing clear signs of cognitive decline. He was recently terminated from his job of 12 years. He's made rash financial decisions. He's exhibiting behavior consistent with early-stage dementia." I sat next to Richard, keeping my face neutral. Dementia. They were actually claiming dementia. "The petitioner seeks limited power of attorney to protect his father's assets and ensure appropriate care," Cross continued. "We have medical affidavits from 2 qualified physicians supporting this assessment." Judge Hendricks looked at the affidavits. "These doctors never examined Mr. Mercer directly?" "No, Your Honor. But they reviewed detailed questionnaires completed by family members about observed behavior." "Questionnaires. The judge's tone suggested what she thought of that. Richard stood. Your Honor, this petition is not about protecting Frank Mercer. It's about stealing from him. We have evidence that the petitioner and his wife are in severe financial distress. The petitioner's brother-in-law is under SEC investigation. They need money, and they've decided to take it from Mr. Mercer by claiming he's incompetent. That's a serious accusation, the judge said. I have proof, Your Honor. A recorded conversation where the petitioner admits his plan to use power of attorney to access his father's assets for his own purposes. Richard played the recording. Trevor's voice filled the courtroom. Paul's situation is complicated. The SEC investigation is baseless, but defending it costs money. And yes, Amanda and I want to upgrade our living situation. Is that a crime? You have assets you're not using. Assets that will eventually be ours anyway. The judge's expression didn't change, but I saw her pen move across her notepad. Cross stood. Your Honor, that recording was taken without my client's knowledge. It may not be admissible. I'll decide what's admissible, Judge Hendricks said. Continue, Mr. Nolan. Richard submitted my employment records from Westbrook, my medical evaluation, letters from James Westbrook and Patricia Moore attesting to my competence, bank statements showing careful financial management. Your Honor, Frank Mercer is not incompetent. He's a highly skilled systems engineer who was wrongfully terminated due to age discrimination. He immediately found better employment. He's managing his finances responsibly. His own son is trying to exploit him during a vulnerable transition period. Cross called Trevor to the stand. Mr. Mercer, please describe your concerns about your father. Trevor sat in the witness box, his hands clasped. He looked sincere, worried. He'd practiced this. My father has changed over the past year, Trevor said. He's forgetful, repeats himself, gets confused about technology that should be simple for someone in his field. When he was fired from Hartwell, he didn't fight it. He just accepted it. That's not like him. Why is that concerning? Because it shows he's not thinking clearly. A competent person would have challenged an unfair termination. My father just walked away. Richard stood. Objection. Accepting a severance package with 6 months' salary is a rational decision, not evidence of incompetence. Sustained, the judge said. Cross continued. Mr. Mercer, what happened after your father left Hartwell? He immediately took a job with their biggest competitor. Not because it was a good opportunity, but because he was angry. He wanted revenge. He's helping Westbrook destroy the company he spent 12 years building. Is that rational behavior? No, it's vindictive. It shows his judgment is impaired by emotion. Richard stood for cross-examination. Mr. Mercer, you work with Hartwell suppliers, correct? Yes. So you knew your father was fired before he told you? I heard about it through business contacts. And within days of his firing, you called Hartwell's CEO asking for documentation of your father's mistakes. Why? Trevor hesitated. I was concerned about his job performance. Or you were building a case for incompetency? I was gathering information. Information to support this petition? To understand what happened. Richard pulled out documents. Your Honor, I have proof that Mr. Trevor Mercer filed preliminary power of attorney paperwork 3 months before his father was fired. He's been planning this for quite some time. Cross stood. Your Honor, planning ahead isn't evidence of bad intent. It is when combined with the recorded admission of intent to drain the estate, Richard said. Mr. Trevor Mercer saw an opportunity when his father was fired. He saw vulnerability he could exploit. The judge looked at Trevor. Mr. Mercer, are you in financial distress? We're managing. Your Honor, Richard said, I have documentation showing Mr. Trevor Mercer applied for a mortgage on a house valued at $2.8 million. His application was denied due to insufficient assets. Days later, he presented his father with trust documents that would give him access to his father's $1.4 million in assets. Cross stood. The trust documents were for protection, For protection, Richard said. Your Honor, the trust terms give the trustee absolute discretion over asset distribution. Trevor Mercer could liquidate everything and claim it was for his father's care. There's no oversight, no accountability. Judge Hendricks made more notes. Cross called Amanda to the stand. She testified about my behavior, claimed I'd been forgetful at family dinners, confused about how to use my phone, distant and disconnected. He's not the same person he was a year ago, Amanda said, her voice earnest. We're worried about him. Richard cross-examined. Mrs. Mercer, how often do you see your father-in-law? Every few weeks. So, every few weeks you observe him for a few hours at dinner? Yes. And based on these limited observations, you filled out medical questionnaires that formed the basis for dementia diagnosis? I answered honestly about what I'd seen. Did you mention that Frank Mercer had just been hired by a major corporation? That he's passed their employment screening? That he's successfully completing complex technical work? I didn't know all the details. Or you left them out because they contradicted your narrative, Cross objected. The judge sustained it. Finally, I took the stand. Richard walked me through my employment history, my technical expertise, my current work at Westbrook. I answered clearly, specifically, demonstrating competence with every response. Then Cross stood for cross-examination. Mr. Mercer, you were fired from Hartwell after 12 years. Why? They said I wasn't digitally intuitive enough. Were they right? No. But they fired you anyway. Doesn't that suggest performance issues? It suggests age discrimination. Or it suggests you couldn't keep up with changing technology. I maintained 99.8% uptime for 12 years. My successor has had multiple system failures in 2 weeks. That doesn't suggest I couldn't keep up. Cross smiled slightly. And now you're working for their competitor, helping Westbrook win contracts that hurt Hartwell. That's revenge, isn't it? It's employment. Westbrook pays me well to do work I'm good at. But you're specifically targeting contracts you worked on at Hartwell, using inside knowledge to undermine them. I'm using my expertise to build better systems. There's no inside knowledge involved, just competence. Cross leaned forward. Mr. Mercer, isn't it true that you deliberately allowed Hartwell's systems to fail after you were fired? That you built in dependencies only you understood, and when they terminated you, you let everything crash? No. Then why did their systems fail the same day you were fired? Because I was the only one maintaining them. They eliminated the person who understood the infrastructure. What happened after that was inevitable. Inevitable or intentional? Inevitable. I documented every system weakness for years. I requested additional staff, better procedures, redundancy planning. They ignored all of it. When they fired the person holding everything together, it fell apart. That's not sabotage, that's consequence. Cross held up documents. I have emails here where you warned Hartwell management about system dependencies, where you said, and I quote, "If I'm not here, these systems will fail." That sounds like a threat. It was a warning. There's a difference. Is there? You warned them, they fired you anyway, and the systems failed exactly as you predicted. That's very convenient. Richard stood. Objection. Mr. Cross is conflating professional warnings with criminal threats. Mr. Mercer did his job responsibly by documenting risks. Hartwell's failure to address those risks is their problem, not evidence of Mr. Mercer's incompetence. Sustained, Judge Hendricks said. Cross tried a different approach. Mr. Mercer, you signed a severance agreement, walked away quietly, didn't fight the termination. Doesn't that show passivity, lack of assertiveness, maybe cognitive decline that prevented you from recognizing you were being treated unfairly? It shows I recognized a hostile situation and chose to leave with dignity rather than fight a battle I probably wouldn't win. Or it shows impaired judgment. If I had impaired judgment, I wouldn't have immediately found better employment. I wouldn't be successfully completing complex technical work. I wouldn't have recognized that my son was trying to rob me. Cross flinched slightly at that. Your Honor, he said, this characterization of my client's motives is unfair. Is it? Richard stood. Your client literally admitted on recording that he wanted access to his father's assets for his own purposes. The characterization is accurate. Judge Hendricks raised her hand. Gentlemen, enough. I've heard sufficient testimony. I'll review the evidence and issue a ruling by end of day. Court adjourned. Everyone stood. Trevor and Amanda left quickly, not looking at us. Trevor's lawyer followed, phone already to his ear. Richard turned to me. That went well. Did it? She didn't rule from the bench. That means she's taking this seriously. But the evidence is overwhelmingly in your favor. The recording alone destroys Trevor's credibility. How long until we know? She said end of day. Could be 3 o'clock, could be 5. Go home. Try to relax. Ellen and I drove home in silence. There was nothing to say. We'd done everything we could. Now we waited for a judge to decide if my own son could declare me incompetent and take control of my life. At 2 o'clock, my phone rang. James Westbrook. Frank, I heard you were in court today. Everything okay? Family issue. It's being resolved. Good. Listen, I need you to know something. Hartwell just filed a lawsuit against you and Westbrook. They're claiming you stole proprietary information and that we're using it to win contracts. I closed my eyes. When? Papers were filed this morning. I'm guessing the timing isn't coincidental. No, it's not. Trevor probably coordinated it. If the incompetency petition didn't work, he has another way to attack me. Can they win? I didn't steal anything. I built better systems using my own expertise. But the lawsuit itself is damaging, creates doubt, makes me look vindictive. Frank, we'll fight this. We have lawyers who specialize in these cases. We'll destroy Hartwell's claims. But I need to ask, is there anything I should know? Anything that could be problematic? No, I was careful. Everything I did at Westbrook was based on general industry knowledge and my own expertise. No trade secrets, no proprietary code, nothing confidential. Good. Then we'll be fine. But expect this to get ugly. After he hung up, I told Ellen about the lawsuit. Trevor's covering his bases, she said. If the judge rules against him, he's still damaged you professionally, made you look like a thief and a saboteur. Smart. Vicious. At 4:30, Richard called. Judge ruled. You won. I felt something release in my chest. Complete ruling? Complete. She denied the incompetency petition entirely, called Trevor's evidence thin and self-serving, cited the recorded admission as proof of ulterior motive. Frank, she destroyed him. The ruling is scathing. What about Trevor? Any consequences for him? She suggested the DA might want to look at attempted fraud. Probably nothing will come of it, but it's on record now. Trevor's lawyer tried to argue this was just a family disagreement, and the judge shut him down. Said attempting to seize assets through false incompetency claims is criminal behavior. So it's over. This part is. But Frank, Trevor won't stop. He's too desperate. Watch your back. After I hung up, Ellen hugged me. We stood in the kitchen for a long moment, just holding each other. You won, she said. We won. What happens now? Now we deal with Hartwell's lawsuit, and we make sure Trevor can never try this again. That evening, I got a text from Trevor. Just 3 words. This isn't over. I showed Ellen. Threat? She asked. Promise. What are you going to do? I thought about it. Trevor had tried to steal from me legally and failed. Now he'd coordinated with Hartwell to attack me professionally. He was desperate, and desperate people escalated. I'm going to make sure he never gets the chance to try again, I said. Tuesday morning, I met with Westbrook's lawyers. 3 of them in a conference room with stacks of documents and serious expressions. Hartwell's lawsuit is garbage, the lead attorney said. His name was Vincent Price. Yes, like the actor. And he looked like he enjoyed crushing weak legal arguments. They're claiming you stole trade secrets, but they can't identify what secrets you allegedly stole. They're claiming you sabotaged their systems, but they can't prove you did anything illegal. This is a harassment suit. Can they damage us anyway? I asked. They can make noise, drag things out, cost us time and money, but they can't win. Not with what they've filed. Patricia Moore, who'd joined the meeting, leaned forward. The real question is strategy. Do we fight aggressively, or do we settle quickly to make this go away? Fight, I said. Everyone looked at me. Settling implies guilt, I said. It tells other clients that maybe Hartwell has a point. It damages my reputation and Westbrook's. We fight. Vincent smiled. I was hoping you'd say that. What's the plan? We file a motion to dismiss. Force Hartwell to provide specific evidence of your alleged theft. When they can't, we get the case thrown out. Then we countersue for harassment and damage to your professional reputation. How long? 3 months, maybe 4. Do it. After the meeting, James Westbrook pulled me aside. You sure about this? Fighting means discovery, depositions, months of legal warfare. I'm sure. Why? We could settle for nuisance money and move on. Because Trevor coordinated this with Hartwell. This is his backup plan. If I settle, he'll claim it proves I'm guilty. He'll use it as evidence in his next attempt to declare me incompetent. Fighting and winning is the only way to shut him down permanently. James studied me. This is personal. Very. Good. Use that. People fight harder when it's personal. I spent the rest of the week working on the 3 contracts we'd won, building implementation plans, designing integration systems, training Westbrook's technical team. I worked 12-hour days, came home exhausted, fell into bed without dreams. Ellen watched me with concern. You're running yourself into the ground, she said Thursday night. I need to prove I'm competent, valuable, not obsolete. You've already proved that. You won in court. You won the contracts. And Trevor's still out there, still planning something. So what? You beat him once. You'll beat him again. Will I? He's gotten smarter, more careful. He coordinated with Hartwell's legal team. He's thinking strategically now. Then we think strategically too. What's his next move? I'd been thinking about that. He needs money. Paul's SEC defense is expensive. He's desperate. What does a desperate person do? Something reckless. Friday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Frank Mercer? Yes. This is Agent Michaels from the FBI. I need to speak with you about allegations of computer fraud and abuse. My stomach dropped. What allegations? Hartwell Industries filed a complaint claiming you accessed their systems without authorization after your termination, caused deliberate damage, federal computer crime. I'd like you to come to our office Monday morning, 9 a.m. I didn't access anything. I haven't touched their system since I was fired. Then you won't mind answering some questions. Monday, 9 a.m., Federal Building downtown. Don't be late. He hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, understanding finally hitting me. Trevor hadn't given up. He'd escalated. If civil court wouldn't declare me incompetent, and if Hartwell's lawsuit didn't damage me enough, maybe federal criminal charges would. I called Richard immediately. FBI? He said when I explained. Jesus, Frank, this is serious. I didn't do anything. I believe you. But the FBI doesn't investigate nothing. Hartwell must have provided evidence. Logs, access records, something. Impossible. I haven't touched their systems. Could someone have used your credentials? Framed you? I thought about it. My access was revoked the day I was fired, unless someone had my old passwords and somehow reactivated my accounts. Who would do that? Someone who wanted to make me look guilty. Someone with contacts at Hartwell who could provide access. Trevor, Richard said. Trevor, I agreed. Okay, don't panic. I'm calling a criminal defense attorney I know, Douglas Kane. He's expensive but good. You're meeting with him tomorrow, and Monday we're both going with you to the FBI. You say nothing without Kane present. Understood? Understood. I told Ellen that evening. She went pale. Federal charges. Frank, they could send you to prison. I didn't do anything. You need to prove that. Saturday morning, I met Douglas Kane. He was 45, sharp-eyed, with the kind of expensive suit that said his hourly rate was terrifying. Tell me everything, he said. I walked him through it, my termination, the systems failing, the job at Westbrook, Trevor's incompetency petition, Hartwell's civil lawsuit, and now this. Someone's framing you, Kane said. Question is who and how. Frank, I need access to all your devices, computer, phone, anything you've used since leaving Hartwell. We need to prove you didn't access their systems. Take whatever you need. He pulled out forms. Sign these. They give me authority to examine your devices and represent you in federal proceedings. Also, this is going to cost approximately $50,000 for the investigation and defense. I signed. Ellen wrote a check. Kane took my laptop, phone, and tablet. I'll have a forensics expert examine these. We'll build a timeline of your digital activity. If you're innocent, and I believe you are, we'll prove it. Monday morning, Richard, Kane, and I went to the FBI field office. We sat in an interview room. Kane placed his briefcase on the table. My client is here voluntarily to answer questions, Kane said. But let's be clear. Mr. Mercer has done nothing wrong. Any allegations to the contrary are false. Agent Michaels opened a folder. Mr. Mercer, you were terminated from Hartwell Industries on October 15th. Yes. And your access credentials were revoked that day? Supposedly. Supposedly? That's what they told me. I never tried to access anything after that, so I don't know if they actually did it. Agent Michaels pulled out documents. According to Hartwell's IT logs, someone using your credentials accessed their network on October 18th, 20th, and 23rd, made changes to critical systems, deleted backup files, inserted malicious code. That wasn't me. The logs show your username and password. Then someone else has my password. I didn't access anything. Can you prove that? Kane intervened. Agent Michaels, we've conducted our own forensic investigation. Mr. Mercer's devices show no connection to Hartwell's network after October 15th. No VPN access, no remote desktop sessions, no evidence of any access whatsoever. Agent Michaels looked at Kane. You're saying Hartwell's logs are fabricated? I'm saying someone else used Mr. Mercer's credentials. Either someone at Hartwell who still had access, or someone who stole his passwords before his accounts were properly secured. Who would do that? Someone with a motive to frame him, Kane said. Someone who benefits from Mr. Mercer facing criminal charges. I spoke. My son is trying to have me declared incompetent. He filed a civil petition last week. Lost. Federal charges would be his backup plan. If I'm a criminal, a jury might believe I lack judgment. Agent Michaels made notes. Your son is involved in this? My son works with Hartwell suppliers. He has business contacts there. He knew I was fired almost immediately. It's possible he coordinated with someone at Hartwell to fabricate access logs. That's a serious accusation. No more serious than accusing me of federal computer crimes I didn't commit. Agent Michaels closed his folder. Mr. Mercer, I'm going to be honest. Hartwell's complaint looked solid on paper, but their evidence is thin, generic access logs that could be fabricated, no IP addresses matching your known locations, no secondary evidence like file transfers or emails, just logs showing your username accessed their systems. So you believe me? I asked. I believe someone wants you to look guilty, whether that's Hartwell covering for their own incompetence or your son framing you or both. That's what I need to determine. What happens now? Kane asked. I investigate. Talk to Hartwell's IT team. Examine their security procedures. Look into whether someone could have fabricated these logs. If I find evidence of a frame job, I prosecute whoever's responsible. If I find evidence you're guilty, I prosecute you. Fair enough, I said. After we left the FBI office, Kane turned to me. You handled that well. Stayed calm. didn't over-explain. But Frank, this isn't over. The FBI will dig. If there's anything in your past that could look suspicious, they'll find it. There's nothing. You're sure? No gray area consulting work? No forgotten old accounts? Nothing? I'm sure. Good. Because if they find something you didn't tell me about, I can't help you. I drove home alone, Richard and Kane having left in their own cars. The city looked normal, people going about their lives, unaware that I was potentially facing federal charges, that my own son had possibly committed fraud to frame me. Ellen was waiting. How bad? She asked. The FBI isn't convinced I'm guilty, but they're investigating. Could go either way. What do? We prove Trevor was involved. If he coordinated with Hartwell to fabricate logs, that's conspiracy. That's federal crime. That puts him in more trouble than me. How do we prove it? I thought about it. Trevor has contacts at Hartwell, business relationships. If he coordinated this frame job, there's communication somewhere. Emails, texts, calls. We find that. We destroy him. That's illegal search. We can't just hack into his communications. No, but the FBI can. If we give them reason to investigate Trevor, they'll do the digging for us. What reason? His incompetency petition. His admitted plan to drain our assets. His coordination with Hartwell's civil lawsuit. All of it together suggests conspiracy. You're going to turn your son over to the FBI. I'm going to protect myself. If Trevor committed crimes, that's his problem. Ellen looked at me for a long moment. You've changed. Have I? The Frank I married wouldn't destroy his own son. The Frank you married didn't have a son trying to frame him for federal crimes. She nodded slowly. Fair enough. What do you need from me? Everything you found about Trevor's finances, Paul's SEC investigation, their house application, all of it. I'm giving it to Agent Michaels. Let him connect the dots. Wednesday, I returned to the FBI office. Agent Michaels agreed to see me without Kane present. This wasn't an interview, just information sharing. I have evidence my son is involved in this, I said, handing him a folder. Financial records showing motive. Court documents showing he tried to declare me incompetent. Recordings of him admitting he wanted access to my assets. Timeline showing he knew about my firing immediately, suggesting inside contacts at Hartwell. Agent Michaels reviewed the documents. This is circumstantial. It's motive and opportunity. Trevor needed me vulnerable. Federal charges would help his incompetency case. He has contacts at Hartwell who could help fabricate evidence. It all fits. Or it's a desperate father trying to deflect blame onto his son. Then investigate us both. Look at my devices, my internet history, my financial records. You'll find nothing connecting me to Hartwell's systems. Then look at Trevor's communications with Hartwell employees. Look at his contacts, his phone records, his emails. If I'm right, you'll find evidence of conspiracy. Agent Michaels closed the folder. I'll look into it, but Mr. Mercer, if you're playing me, if this is misdirection, I'll bury you. I'm not playing anyone. I'm an innocent man defending himself. We'll see. I left the FBI office feeling something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Not because I was innocent. I'd always known that. But because now the FBI was looking at Trevor. Now someone with actual authority was investigating whether my son had committed federal crimes. Now the trap was closing on him instead of me.